And welcome back to another summer edition of Enfield Today. We're so happy to be bringing you some information and things to do in the summertime here in the Enfield area. I'm very excited about having these next guests on. They're from the Connecticut Trolley Museum, and many people don't know the history of the Trolley Museum and how it came about, and maybe a lot of young people wonder, why are these trolley cars from 100 years ago rolling up and down this track next to the road? And there's a tremendous history to this museum. And I personally was involved with the museum about 15 years ago. I helped organize a golf tournament and did some volunteer work, helped them with their tracks and everything. And it's just a thing of beauty to actually go to that museum and understand a lot of the craftsmanship that you're seeing. And so let's introduce our guests this week. To my left, I have Gina Maria Alamberti, the business manager. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming down. Yeah. And Larry Bryan,
Hi, John.
the vice president of the organization. And to his left is Galen Semperbon, the president of the Connecticut Trolley Museum.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, you're welcome. You know, I was so excited. I brought down some of my personal pictures of trolley cars that I had in my office. You know, they're vintage pictures here. I'm not sure where the new Boston car is, but as you can see here, you've got double tracks, like a little, it's really like a little locomotive kind of thing that runs by itself. It's kind of amazing. And then I believe that's in the Connecticut area in the back there, and we're probably not zooming in on any of these pictures, so I'll stop here. But the Victorian era mass transit, you know, thing, as opposed to riding in the horse and buggy and everything else, it was very, very much you know, appreciated, I bet, back then, especially on hot days. So so let's go into the history, Larry.
Sure.
You know, the Trolley Museum was started in 1940. What can you tell us about the guys and why they would start up this trolley museum?
Well, there was a group of trolley and rail enthusiasts who wanted to keep the sights and the sounds around for the generations to follow because they saw what was happening. The trolley lines were being closed down and being replaced by buses. And they saw what was happening in Hartford, and they decided to see if they could start a museum and collect some of the cars. They were lucky enough to be able to purchase 3 miles of land in Warehouse Point, which was part of the Hartford and Springfield Street Railway Company's Warehouse Point to Rockville branch. And they acquired that in 1940 for the whole sum, I think it's around $250. Very long, very narrow. And finally, after they got that set, they went looking for a trolley car, and they were able to get the first car in the late 1941, in late summer, and that's car number 65. It came directly from Hartford and was put on a piece of panel track right by where our North Road station is. And that's how the museum started. And by hand, they started clearing the land. But then World War I happened. World War II, excuse me, World War II. Matter of fact, we have a very interesting photo. It was taken on December 7th, 1941. And they're setting the first pole on the property, and they didn't know at that time Pearl Harbor was being attacked. You can see where the shadows of the pole and everyone's shadow was. It was just about the right time.
Wow. And
everyone went off to war. And after the war, they came back, started collecting more cars, building more track, and starting the effort to build a museum. And it's quite an effort. We are the oldest incorporated trolley museum in the nation. And
wow.
We're 76th year now.
Yeah, that's tremendous too. I mean, because there are a few other ones. I've been to the one in Maine and the one down in Brantford,
Yep.
and they're all great, and they all have that mission.
That's
but
right.
you know, just to have the foresight to start preserving those cars, because I think during the war, a lot of people don't know this, they were dismantling the cars for the scrap metal. Like they would take that steel or whatever, and to see really what's I mean, you look at a car like this, and inside it's mahogany, it's cherry wood, it's, you know, beautiful paneling, and what do you call the seats? A rattan
Seats,
rattan
yes.
seats,
Yep.
And tremendous to look at inside, and so they were preventing, because I think they even burned some of the trolley cars in our area too.
Oh, yes. Piney Ridge Park was a recreation area that was along our right-of-way which was owned and operated by the trolley company. And trolley companies did that because on the weekends they wanted business, so they started recreation areas. So the Hartford and Springfield opened up Piney Ridge Park, and they had a dance pavilion there with a pipe organ, some simple rides, picnic areas, and 2 baseball diamonds. And Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth both played minor league ball in East Windsor.
Wow. No kidding.
With Six Flags, which is really Riverside Park, that was started by a trolley company.
No
so it's
kidding.
very common, because also the trolley companies had electricity.
Yeah.
Right? That's where the whole thing of Christmas lights came from also. Because they
and
decorated
it was
cities.
direct current, right? I mean,
Yes.
it would feed direct current, which is, you know, that whole thing between Edison and...
So when the trolley lines were closed down, they took a lot of the cars out to Piney Ridge Park to scrap them.
Wow, no kidding. And I had read that too, that like Mountain Park, and if you look at actually the picture
Rock.
behind you is that's in Boston, I think. And I know you don't have to turn around, but they're lining up the cars to take them to the beach, out to one of the beaches in the area there.
Open cars are very popular. We have a few open cars. Number 355 is gorgeous, fully restored, and it operates down in Fairview and West Haven. And it's a gorgeous open car, and that's Mother Nature's air conditioning.
Yeah,
and people can ride it.
I didn't look at the thing to see if we showed the yellow Connecticut car with the open sides. It is one of my favorites. You know, with that it was damaged for a while. I know that it had been involved, I think, in a small fender bender. Yeah, there it is. And so it's back up and running, and that was sorely missed for part of the 90s. I think maybe the early 2000s or something. And I remember going back, and when I was volunteering, I was like, oh no, that's not working. But this is sort of a recent picture, and I think some of your old pamphlets and, you know, maybe tour books or whatever, they had pictures of kids in the 50s and the you know, in the 60s riding these cars like everybody else did up to the current time, right?
Oh, we still operate the open cars.
Yeah.
And we have a Montreal observation car which has no roof. It's tiered seats. That's very popular. There's only 4 cars built like that in the world. All of Montreal. They were built to give tours to the city of Montreal.
Yeah. And
we're lucky enough to have one, number 4, and we do use it. And it's wonderful.
Yeah, that's a really nice ride. I don't know how late in the season you take that one out, but
oh, we take that out for our Winterfest, and people stand online for 45 minutes in 32-degree weather to ride at 20 miles an hour. Underneath all the colored lights, and it's very popular.
Oh, that's tremendous. You know, we actually will be coming up on a video clip here, but before we get into that, in the 1990s, they built the, are we going to go to the clip? Mary's making gestures here. You know what, let me just say this. Let me know when the clip's ready, Mary. Anyway, they hate.
I'm pretty sure you wrote I was 101 on my Mother's Day cards.
This trolley was built 94 years ago.
Oh my.
That's even older than I am.
Oh yeah, that's a great video, and that's 859, right?
That's 836.
836, a New Orleans car.
Yes.
See, once you, I didn't know anything about trolley cars before I went down and volunteered there, and just like the Montreal car, the New Orleans car, the Connecticut car. I mean, there were companies that made these cars specifically for certain areas of the country, and then it moved up to the PCC car, which is what I think I put between you guys there on the table, and they had, you know, different style of ride, but it's like a Cadillac. It's a really comfortable ride. Do you still have a PCC car in operation?
Not right now. We don't have it in operation right now, but we do have PCC cars.
Yeah, it's tough to keep everything running. These cars are,
challenge.
You know, 60, 70, 80, 100 years old. It's a miraculous thing that they're even operating.
We do have one you can view, though.
Oh, yes, in our visitor center is
center.
451.
Oh, 451.
Beautiful.
It's in
Yeah,
the
and you
center.
can go in and sit inside. I think that's really awesome. Track repair. I mean, there's a lot of components, a lot of moving parts to this, and we're going to get to the rest of you guys. But I just love the history of this museum. You have crews that do track repair. You got linemen. I mean, that's like a fully operating little railway.
It is a challenge.
Yeah, and they have to know a little bit about the electrical, and they can come in. How do you, you know, how do you find those kind of people? Do you go for retirees, or do you go for maybe kids working at training at one of the schools in the area that might be interested in that? Do you
Well,
think?
all is welcomed,
Yes,
of course.
everyone,
we survive on volunteers. So a lot of our volunteers either were young and came and visited the Trolley Museum and got excited like you did, and now they're at the museum helping us. We also obviously go after retirees. We do have one retiree now that is doing our line work. He retired from SN,
Eversource.
Yeah, Eversource.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good find.
That's a skill set. And actually, no experience is necessary. You have a desire to learn. That's what helps. I got involved there many years ago because I like technology. I like the history of technology.
Yeah.
And then you just get into it.
And Galen's been there since he was 13.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yes,
No kidding, man. Wow.
I joined when I was young and never lost the interest.
Yeah, I mean, you can develop that love, and at such an early age, and have it go right on through, and it's so great. Like, I remember when I was there, and Walter was the lineman, and he looked like a lineman. He had this big kind of gray hair and the little red, what do they call a little red line car?
The line car, yes.
Yeah, it's
that's
just called the line car.
Which we still have.
You still
We
have
still
that?
use it.
Line car we
Not
have.
Walter.
We don't have Walter, unfortunately.
I mean, here's something I really want to do is go down and learn to be an operator, and how long does that take?
Well, we have a program called the Guest Motorman Program, and it's about an hour and a half program, but in the end you actually operate the trolley. That's our goal. We have a motorman that teaches you how to run it.
Yeah.
So it's very popular, so anytime you want to come on down, we can make that happen.
That's awesome. Feel free to chime in, Gail. I'm sorry we haven't.
No problem.
What are the challenges of being a president of an organization like this?
It's a challenge we have a lot of volunteers. We have a lot to try to do with a very limited budget and a very limited number of volunteers. But somehow we keep it running. As you indicated, we do have line work and track work and maintaining the cars and operating the cars. So we have a lot of things we need to get done. And then there's all the work behind the scenes to just keep essentially a trolley museum running, paperwork and the financials and all the administrative work. So.
And all the grant proposals that you go after, I'm sure the grant money is huge. I think I was trying to help them with a couple grants that back then, and I know there's some companies some organizations that contribute probably regularly every year toward certain specific projects, certain cars or certain, restoration projects and things like that. If I remember correctly, that was a big part of the president's job, is to do all that. You know what I have to say, that is oh yeah, let's talk about an upcoming event here. So that's May 20th. It's Fireman's Day. Is that what?
It's our fire truck show day. It's our second annual show. We did it last year and it was a huge success, so we're doing it again this year. A lot of people don't realize there actually is a fire truck museum on property, so this helps kind of showcase their museum and get people to come visit both museums. We have local fire stations that come out and bring their equipment, so there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on that day. It's a fun, exciting day for everybody.
There'll be activities for kids there. There'll be antique fire trucks and current fire trucks. So
yeah,
it's a neat event.
Those are all in great shape too. I've seen do they still have buses there? Like
yeah, there's some buses there.
Couple old buses, Greyhounds or whatever. I can't remember.
They have about a half dozen Connecticut company buses. I think their oldest one dates from 1937. It was built by Brill, which is a trolley car builder. So the bus is really the next outgrowth of when they stopped building the buses. Trolleys. They switched into building buses.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's that's great. They have all that transportation, the fire. There's so much to see. And you have a lot of groups coming in probably to tour the place and take advantage of all the learning opportunities there, I would think.
Well, we're really trying to go down that road a little bit more and get more groups in, scout groups. We're doing a homeschoolers day in June. We're just trying to get bigger and better, and we think we have a great museum, and we just have to get the word out and get more visitation. And our museum's alive. You actually get to ride our artifacts, so you get to live it. You don't just look at stuff, and that's why I think the Trolley Museum is great.
Yeah, if you go to Chicago and you go to they have a giant museum there, an industry museum or something like that, and they have a big train inside and a plane. You're right, you just walk through it. It's kind of all right, but you know what, when you ride down the track in the New Orleans car or the the Connecticut car. That's brings it really home, I think.
It was a way of life, the turn of the century. That was a little different than we're used to now. I always tell people there that, you know, at that time in 1906, let's say, you didn't watch television. You certainly didn't have the internet. A lot of people didn't have radio, and it was a different way of life. People worked hard. The sun went down. You went to bed. All right. So you know, people entertained themselves, and they needed the transportation to get around, and that the trolleys filled that bill.
Yeah,
filled that need.
Thank God that you guys took over, and you know, Galen had, you've all stepped into these roles. I just think back to, you know, like 2000 or so, and it wasn't looking good because they had this beautiful visitor center, and Walter, I think, had recommended rosewood windows at the top, so it was authentic up there and very costly, but you know, it was authentic, and they had all those details, but then it was kind of a struggle to get that certificate of occupancy. But now when I go back, and I'm amazed, is the library still functioning? With
The library's there.
Yeah. Got a library, so you can research. I go to a lot of little kind of collector shows and stuff, and I had a stack of magazines that they would produce back then. Every month the Trolley Museum would produce, what do they call that?
The transportation bulletins were published, the small ones, and they were, I forget how many were published by Roger Burrup and Ken DeSalle. And in Connecticut was a series, then in Massachusetts was another series with different stories. But
yeah.
They're kind of neat because it gives people an idea of what things were like back in that day in the state of Connecticut. You know, they don't know.
Yeah, and the one that was specific to the museum talked about the progress on each car, or if they brought a new car in, they'd have it on the books. I'm gonna have to donate those to you guys, and you got it on tape saying this. I've been meaning to bring it down there for years. I don't look at them anymore, but I made copies of all of them, and so I don't really need them. I think they'd be great for your library. The movie theater, do you still show? That's great too. Those were all part of the vision, you know, and you made it happen. So let's talk about fundraising, though, to keep this this thing going here. You've got a big event July 22nd. Yep,
we do have our big fundraiser July 22nd, cocktails, wine, and ales on the rails. So we'll have a variety of wine. We're going to really focus on cocktails, and like they drank back in the early 1900s. We're going to have live music. We're going to have food. We're going to do some really neat demonstrations also. So it's our big fundraiser. It's going to obviously profit the museum, and we need to spread the word and get everybody there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You're going to go? Our floor director said she's going. I'm going to go. I think, you know, we've got other people associated with the TV show that go down and volunteer for Rails to the Dark Side. In fact, the other guy that hosts is his wife, Doreen.
Galen runs that program.
Oh, do you run that? Okay,
yeah.
so you know Doreen. What's Kevin's last name?
Kibbe.
Kibbe, yeah. Doreen Kibbe. She's involved in that. I think it's great. Do they still have the pumpkin patch?
We do. We have the pumpkin patch. We do that during the day for the younger crowd, and then Rails to the Dark Side is for the older crowd that wants to get scared literally half to death. Because it really is.
Very good job.
Quite a show.
The makeup and stuff, I'm like, oh my God, man. And they're on the trolley with this, you know, like kind of creature thing, you know, whatever. And
we're not going to give it all away.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. They didn't have that when I was in the Boy Scouts. We went down. I think at Christmas time they had the lights on each of the things. They kind of still do that, but now inside the visitor center they have like model trains and stuff. And
well, we do have our big Winterfest program that we do every year. This year we're going to be changing things up a little bit, so it's kind of a surprise what's going on, but we do have the lights going down the track. And then when you walk into the visitor center, it is a winter wonderland. It really is just breathtaking. But I mean, things we really have to emphasize is we are a nonprofit museum, so any event we do is our fundraiser. That helps us keep the museum alive and open and operating for our future generation. Yeah,
and people would be surprised how many hats everyone wears to make this happen. right? I remember it's like 3 or 4 hats, like, you know, birthday party person and, you know,
Janitor.
yeah.
Yep.
And, you know, then again, like setting up for the Christmas thing, more volunteers needed for that. And
Yep.
you got Christmas trees everywhere and it's stored away and stuff, right? And
It does take a good month to pull off these big events like Winterfest and Rails to the Dark Side.
Yeah.
Putting everything together and taking it all down. I mean,
Winterfest, yeah.
Yes.
That's, now, I was gonna ask something about that too. When does that start in November?
the last weekend in November.
Right after
Okay.
Thanksgiving.
Okay, Thanksgiving. So then,
After Thanksgiving.
oh, right after Thanksgiving, and then that runs through
Right up until the end of December.
end of December.
Yeah,
That's
so
great.
we'll stay open for winter break, school break.
And then the Rails to the Dark Side. That
So Pumpkin Patch and Rails to the Dark Side is weekends in October.
weekends in October.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. And you know what? Do they still do it where for all the volunteer hours you get, there's a matching grant of some sort? Like we used to keep track of the hours we put in because they could apply that as funds toward some type of matching grant. I don't know if that's
There are, you know, that's something we need to start looking into again because there are programs that will match your hours that you put in.
Yeah.
But we do have a lot of benefits that we give our volunteers too if they do so many hours.
Yeah. Do the state prison guys still come down and do a lot of work? Oh, hey, this is a great shot here. Now, what's going on here? It's a Connecticut car. Are they?
Galen,
That's our dedication for 1326, which is the Connecticut Company car. Behind that was just coming out of the shop at that time. So that was a dedication ceremony. It was a 4-year restoration project, and the people you see in the photos were the instrumental people in restoring that car.
And who were those guys? I mean, do you want to give some props to some of your key guys in the?
Well, John Pelletier is actually heads up the restoration shop.
Oh wow, that's another nice shot.
So
that's the barn there, the Kelly barn.
that's Kelly Barn. So the car is coming out for the first time for operations from a restoration. And like I said, it was about a 4-year process. We did everything. We built the roof. Restored the interior woodwork, did a lot of wiring repairs, some motor repairs, and some other, quite a bit of work on that car
Yeah.
to get it back into service. So we're real excited about
That's
launching
great.
that.
I mean, when you have those wheels, sometimes they've got to be resurfaced, returned. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes into refurbishing.
Well-
And these are the volunteers for Rails to the Dark Side.
That's our part of our Rails to the Dark Side cast. Each year we have about between 100 and 150 cast members volunteering.
That's
Some don't do it every night, but we have a dedicated core that come back year after year, do it every year, every night. So we have a really good cast.
And that's is that a Houston car? Or a Boston car?
That was a Boston Type 5 they were posing in front of.
Those are my favorites. That's why I bought the PCC. I think that's I don't know them as well as I should, but I like the orange cars. That's all I know. Orange and yellow, those are my 2 favorite colors. That's about it. So, let's see. You know, going back to the refurbishing of those rattan. You know, where do these guys learn to do that, or to set up the engines that need to be overhauled, just like a regular car engine, right?
Well, it's electric motors that we overhaul. Most of it is basically passed down from generation to generation. I learned it when I was young at the museum, and I've been teaching people since as about as long as I can remember now. So
Well, you know, thank God for that.
we've got a good shop crew right now. We've got about a half dozen regular people that come in every Saturday and volunteer in the shop to work on the cars, and we just started a new project, another Connecticut Company car, number 3001. So that'll be
Nice.
another 4 years project.
How many pieces of stock do you have altogether on the?
We have about 45 trolleys and about 25 other assorted rail equipment.
Yeah.
Locomotives and box cars and flat cars and tank cars, cabooses. We're up to 3 or 4 cabooses now. So
Yeah. Well, those are always fun to look
Yeah.
at too.
So-
How about the New Jersey light rail car? Is that doing anything? I remember that when that came in, that was really different from.
Yeah, it's a PCC from New Jersey that we just got about 3 or 4 years ago. We haven't had a chance to put it into service yet. it's definitely on the list, though.
Yeah, 40 pieces of stock, you know, and that's great. You know, it's just too bad we don't have it. You know what's funny is we talked about extending the line into Broadbrook, and you know, having people come down and maybe go to the old Piney Ridge and all that. And I went with Walter for a ride, and the stuff he was talking about, like we're going to buy that house and we're going to put the right of way back where it was, and you know, obviously that I don't know if that'll ever happen, but it would be pretty cool if you know, we could someday get all that out there. You know.
It would be cool, but right now we're really going to be focusing on what we have and cleaning up our property, taking care of the line we have right now before we even think about moving forward.
Yeah, and doing line work, I want you guys to call me like the next time somebody's going down to replace some ties, because those railroad ties.
May 30th.
Oh, this is a great shot. So this is the fire.
That's from last year. That's our fire truck show. Shaker Pines has a fire department right in Enfield. Has a lot to do with the show. They come and last year they did a demonstration with the kids. This year they're actually bringing a smokehouse. It's a trailer simulator where the kids and the families can go in it, they fill it with smoke, and they teach the families and the kids what to do when the house is full of smoke.
Wow.
So it's a trailer that has a full living room and a kitchen. So they'll be bringing that there. And Ed, he works at the fire station there. He dresses up in the gear, and he really entertains the kids.
Oh, that's great. And hopefully we'll be able to get this aired tonight, this episode, so people will know on May 20th it's the fire truck show, and they can bring their kids down to that. And
a really, really special event we're doing also is on Father's Day. It's our behind-the-scenes tour.
Nice.
So we will be bringing our visitors back into the restoration shop, and Galen will be there, and a few other people will be there, and really going over our restoration projects. And Dads love that, obviously.
Oh yeah, I mean, they've got a pit. They've got all the tools. I mean, everything that can be done there, as long as someone's willing to invest all those hours into it, it can get done. And you know. So hopefully you'll get a lot of Father's Day. When is Father's Day this year?
June 18th.
Sunday,
Sunday, June 18th.
Wow, it's coming up pretty quick.
It is.
So, yeah, hopefully that'll be good. You guys have any other things you want to share? I mean, we've got like about a minute or two left.
Wow.
Only a minute.
Oh,
just our summer hours begin June 19th. We'll be open 7 days a week from 10 to 4:30. So we're going to be doing a lot of program with the kids. New this year, we actually were able to hire some museum educators. So they're going to be there to do tours and to emphasize a little bit more about what you're actually looking at rather than just walking around on your own.
Yeah, that's important.
Yep.
Yeah.
We also do birthday parties.
Oh, that's right. Birthday parties are great there.
The kids love it. They get to ride a trolley car. We have an attendant to help the family run the party and make sure you get on the trolley car. And it's quite a lot of people enjoy that.
Is the gift shop still fully loaded with?
Gift shop is loaded with souvenirs, Connecticut souvenirs, Trolley Museum souvenirs, anything trolley related.
And the places, you can rent the place for special events.
Christmas party, retirement parties, corporate events.
The theater.
Corporate events, that's something we talked about.
And we run the trolleys during the events, so it's a really great venue.
Yeah, that's great, you know, and all of that, you know. Of course, you take donations from companies as well, right? So
we do. We actually have a corporate program going on right now where we obviously looking for donations, but we give back where they get tickets, they can come to the museum, they can rent the museum, and a whole bunch of great stuff.
Okay, so now we're definitely into the last bit. Now I just want to thank you guys for coming down. And I really appreciate it. Yeah, hopefully we can get you down here again. And we have, you know, quite a few viewers, and maybe they'll come down to the Trolley Museum. Thank you to all of the volunteers that we have here in our studio. And if anybody wants to come down here and volunteer for our TV show, you're more than welcome. You know, it's a lot of fun meeting and learning more about stuff that's going on in our community. You know, and I hope, you know, people will definitely want to come down. So thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome.